Morning, everybody. This is the first episode of Cooking in the Bear Cave. So it's morning here at my house, and I'm going to talk to you real quick about an item you might see at the grocery store or at the farm stands or at your local CSA that you might not know what to do a lot with. It's this guy right here. Looks kind of ugly, I know, lumpy, dirty, but this is called celeriac or celery root. It's actually really good. It's got a very mild celery flavor. This is the root that the celery you buy in the store grows from. So when they're done harvesting the stalks, they actually harvest this too. So it's two products in one. A lot of people are intimidated by it, don't know what to do with it necessarily. Like I said, it's got a very mild celery flavor, and actually can be cooked similar to a potato. So if you see right here, I have it all cleaned and chopped up and prepared just like I have my potatoes, because this morning what I'm going to be making is a sausage, potato, and celery root hash. I like hash around my house because I like to have the meat and the vegetables and all that in one dish. So as you can see, I'll go through my ingredients. I have one celery root, celeriac, clean, cut up in this bowl. That's what it originally looked like. In this bowl I have, I think it's about three yellow potatoes, just peeled and cubed. I have 2 cloves of diced garlic, or minced garlic rather, and I have one diced, oh boy, losing it, one diced shallot, I'm sorry. Shallot, I like shallot a lot. It's got a mix between an onion and a garlic flavor. It's really good, so I like it. I like my vegetables, as you can see, chopped on the large side, just because I like tasting them. And then in here I have half of a orange pepper and one small sweet pepper. One of these guys right here, you can get them in this grocery store in bags. They come in orange, yellow, red. They're really good, they're sweet. And then I have about a half of a log of this Jimmy Dean's breakfast sausage that I'm going to scramble up and put in this. So before I do that, I do have a pot of water boiling on the stove. So when you're preparing this hash, you've got to do one of two things. If you're using just potato, a quick way to do it is to just microwave the potatoes. You can take the potatoes and microwave them for about 3 minutes a piece. So if you put 5 in the microwave, you might want to back it down to like 10 minutes, 12 minutes, check and see how soft they are. You want them sort of baked potato soft. And then when you do that, you can actually cut up the skin and everything and throw it right into the hash. This morning, because I'm doing it with the celery root and the potato, I'm actually going to boil these, and I'm just going to parboil them. So I'm going to boil them till I can just start to get my fork into it a little bit, because then when you cook it in the hash, that will complete the rest of the cooking on it. So 1 second, I'm going to go dump these in my pot of boiling water. Alright, so those are on to cook. And while that's boiling, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video a second, and I'm actually I'm not going to pause it. I'm just going to move you up over here so you can see me cooking. Right there like that. I think that does the trick. Maybe angle it down a bit. That's perfect. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this sausage and I'm just going to scramble it. I love this right here. I cook with this guy all the time. It's a deep sided cast iron skillet. It's really good, very versatile. You can cook lots of stuff in it, and you get a good layer of that carbon in there. You can actually cook eggs on it and all that. So I'm going to put this stove on medium. You don't really ever want to be above medium when you're cooking anything in a frying pan on the stove top. The only time you should be using high or medium high is if you're boiling something or something that has liquid in it. So I'm going to turn that on to about medium. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in here. that. I'm going to take this out. Just going to squeeze that down in. Now, the sausage is going to do a couple things for me. It's going to give me a little bit of protein in the dish with the vegetables, but it's also going to give me some good fats. And that's what I really like about doing this dish with sausage. So, as you can see here, my celeriac and potato are coming back to a boil after I put them in. I'm just going to grab a fork here to test for doneness in a minute. And while that's heating up, I'm going to talk to you quick about eggs. You can see some of my eggs in the back here. I have free-range chickens at my house, so they're the best eggs that you can get anywhere. If you want to raise a little flock yourself, it's a good idea. It's not a whole lot of work, and it's fun. They're fun pets, and then you also get great eggs out of them. The important thing to note, if you do see here, that I have my eggs just sitting on my countertop. When the chicken lays an egg, it puts a coating on it when it comes out of the chicken that actually is a very strong barrier to any type of bacteria, disease, or anything like that. So your eggs can stay out in room temperature for weeks at a time until you wash them. Once you wash them, you have to put them in the refrigerator. So, and then all you do is once you want to do an egg, you just clean it up and it's ready to go. So I'm going to do 6 eggs here. I'm just doing them scrambled. I'm going to have this with a hash once everything starts coming together here. And then the other thing that's great about the eggs, if you have a garden or something like that, is you can always compost your eggshells. And I'll show you that in a second. Take you over there. Actually, you'll bring the pot up here. This is my compost bucket. You can see in here there's all kinds of stuff. Peels from the shallots and from the celeriac and orange peels and all that stuff. And I just take all my eggshells and put them in here, and it helps give us some really good fertile compost for when it comes time for planting. One thing you'll learn about me is you watch my cooking. I don't measure a lot of things, and I like a lot of flavor. So as often as I can, I'll try and give you specific amounts of things. But for me, cooking is more art than science, and so I like to kind of eyeball things and see how it looks, and then kind of take it from there. So a little bit of salt and pepper in those. I'm also going to show you another little thing, another little trick for making stuff that you have at home go further. So if you're like me and you go to the store and you like to get fresh herbs, which I do a lot, sometimes you can't use them as fast as you'd like to. So what I'll always do is I'll always buy some extra herbs. And what I do is I've got a couple pipes for heat running through here. I just get some string and I tie them and I hang them. And what that's good for is when I want one of those herbs, I can just go and cut it. You'll also see here in my window I've got some cool mushrooms growing, and here's some dill. And I like dill in my eggs, so I'm going to cut a little bit of this dill and put it in my eggs. I just use a pair of kitchen shears and then cut some off, and then come over here and cut it into little pieces and get it down into the egg. Gives it a nice herbal flavor when you cook it. Put a little cheese in there if you want to. I'm not going to put cheese in it this morning, but you could if you wanted to. Get that all mixed up. And again, I don't know how much dill I just put in here. I kind of eyeballed it. So, okay. So there's our scrambled eggs ready to go. That celeriac root and potato looks like it's coming to a pretty good boil, so give me 1 second. And I'm going to check this. Usually you just use like a wooden spoon or something, pick a piece out, and try to put my fork into it. And it's got to be parboiled, so not super soft. You don't want it to get to the point where you can make it mashed, like mashed potatoes. You want it to still have a little bit of fight left in it. The potato's a little hard. Celery act's in good shape, so we'll wait for that. While that's going, I'm going to start to just break this sausage up and scramble it. As you can hear, that's starting to cook. You don't need a lot. Again, I don't know how much I put in here. It was about a half a log of the Jimmy Dean's breakfast sausage, so you just want to break it up with your spoon, kind of flatten out the small pieces so that it'll cook a little bit faster here, because in no time our potatoes will be ready and we'll be able to start assembling all this stuff together. And you can really cook this as well done as you want. If you want it to be really extra crunchy and dark, you can cook it for a long time and just wait till you get it to the right spot before you put the other stuff in. But this is all going to be good and ready to go here in just a few minutes. The thing that's great about this high side cast iron pan is if you were braising something, or if you were cooking some thick chops, or you're cooking some thick steak, whatever, and you wanted to just get a nice sear on it, and then you wanted to finish it in the oven, you can put this whole thing right in there. It holds heat really well. I've also made spaghetti sauce, all kinds of stuff in this, so it's a really very versatile tool to have in the kitchen. If you don't have one, I suggest you go get one. Don't spend a ton of money. You can go to Goodwill or Savers or something like that, and you can find these. People are getting rid of these all the time. You can find them at those places. So just want to scramble that around. While I'm waiting for that to get ready to go, I'm going to move some of these cooking pieces over here. Again, like I said earlier, for those of you that missed it, if you look at that, I really like to get a very chunky chop on most of my vegetables. I'm the kind of person that really likes to taste the individual pieces of vegetables. If you want your flavorings to be more ubiquitous, like your garlic or your shallots or something like that, you can chop them down as fine as you want. In a lot of cases, they'll break down very readily in whatever you're cooking. But if you're like me and you like to have a little bit more of a chunk to it, you can do it that way. So real quick, again, I'm going to come over here and check, see how our potatoes, alright, so that's perfect. So I'm going to show you that in a second. So I'm going to shut that off now. Just going to do a quick strain on it. You don't want all that water going into that hot oil in the skillet. And the thing that's great about the celeriac is, I'm going to set that right there. The thing that's great about it is it gives it a nice light celery flavor. It's not overpowering like celery stalk itself can be at times. So I'm just going to pull a piece out here and show you where you want it to be. So there's a piece of potato, and when you put your fork in it, you want it to go in nice and smooth like that. I'll show you here the celeriac chunk. That's a little bit softer. Perfect. But that's as far as you want it to go. No further than that. And I'm going to give the sausage here another minute or two to finish browning up. While I do that, I'm going to get a little bit more fat to add to this mix, and that's with some butter. So I'm going to take off, like 3 tablespoons of butter out of here, and I'm going to throw it right into this celery root and potato to let that kind of melt down a little bit, and let this finish browning. So when it comes to cooking, you always want to think about the stages of cooking, how fast things are going to cook, and you got to just learn that through trial and error. Thicker vegetables like carrots and celery and things like that take longer to cook than stuff like onions and garlic. So depending on how you want your hash to be, if you want everything to kind of be cooked down and really caramelized together, then you can put it all in at the same time and let it all go down. If you want certain things to stand out and have a little bit more chunkiness or a little bit more solidity to them, you can put them in closer to the end of the cooking period. But the good news is, at this point, everything's cooked, so this sausage is all scrambled up, looks good, ready to go. The potatoes cooked, so on all the other vegetables you can eat raw, so you could literally just put this all in a pot together and just warm it up, and if you wanted to eat it at that point you could. I'm just going to show you real quick. There's the scrambled sausage. It's done and ready. So I'm going to now take all of this, dump that right in. And now's the time, if you wanted to, where you could kind of kick the stove top up a little bit, because like I just said, all of our stuff is cooked. So now what we want to do with our hash is we want to get some good caramelization going. So I'll kick it up to about a number 5 in a scale of 2 to 10, or 0 to 10. So I'm about at a medium now. It's medium low earlier. I'm probably going to kick it up a little bit higher because I want to kind of do a fast caramelization on all of this. Let it break down. So I'm a big fan of having everything kind of cooked really well and caramelized. So I'm going to now add the peppers in there. I'm going to add the shallots in. And last but not least, the garlic in. And now it's just a matter of letting this thing cook down. So, show you what that looks like with everything added. You got your nice bright colors, some your peppers and other stuff, and it smells really good. So, put you back here, and always salt and pepper. No matter what you're making, you should always put salt and pepper on it. Salt makes things taste better, brings out the flavor profile, and for whatever reason, pepper helps salt do the same thing, so it's a really good combination. That's why we use salt and pepper. And I'm going to kind of eyeball it. There's already some sausage in there with some salt, some saltiness to it, so I'm just going to let this all cook now and break down. And when you're cooking the hash, the important thing is too, like, you want caramelization, which some people think like, oh, you burned it. Well, did it burn or caramelize? Because what you want to happen is you want all the edges of all these pieces of potato and celery root and all the vegetables to start getting contact with the bottom of the pan so that they can get that nice caramelization crust on them. And if you stir hash too much, you will defeat the purpose of getting that. So I usually tend to let it kind of sit at this point and let it go for a while, and then I'll stir it only as needed. So while that's going on, I'm just going to cook up scrambled eggs here. Again, you want to be around a 4 on a scale of 1 to 10. Got a little olive oil in the bottom of that. I know you can't smell it, but it smells really good. So, I've got my eggs here. Like I said, I put some dill in them. see the dill on the surface. I like to give it another little mix before I put it in, just to make sure that the herbs are kind of throughout. And let's see, this bowl come over here. And next video, I'm going to show a few other things. Basically, we're going to learn how to manage large amounts of things. So I actually have a bunch of avocados that are just ripe right now, and I'm not going to eat, like, I don't know, there's 6 avocados. I'm not going to eat 6 avocados today. So I'm going to actually make a really basic guacamole out of that and freeze it. And then I'm also going to show you how to pickle cucumbers. I'm going to pickle a bunch of other vegetables, and then I'm also going to show you my my beet and carrot pickle recipe, which is really, really good. So let's see what's happening here. It's heating up. You really want your pan to be at temperature before you put stuff in it. So I always kind of put my hand down in to see how warm it is before I actually start to put stuff in. And so we're starting to catch some caramelization here on some of this stuff, and the way I can tell is because as I'm starting to turn this here, I can see some brown starting to come on some of the pieces here. The really important thing with hash is you don't want it to dry out. So be liberal with your fats that you're putting in it, whether you prefer olive oil, coconut oil you could use, you can use butter, you can use lard. I often use bacon fat. You want to be liberal with it because you don't want your hash to dry out. So that's up to temperature now. I'm going to scramble the eggs right in. So you know your pan is at the right temperature for scrambled eggs if they start to form an egg layer on the bottom, a cooked egg layer on the bottom right away. If they don't do that, your pan is too cold. So it should always be around medium. Not so much that you burn them, but enough so that you start to form that egg layer right away. So I can start to see what's going on here, and I'm starting to get a sense for the fact that everything's starting to caramelize a bit. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to grab the can up and show you some of the caramelization going on. You can start to see this piece I'm pointing out with the fork right there, how it's starting to get some brown on the edges. That's what you want. You want this whole hash to start looking like that and breaking down. And it's looking really good. Come along. Hopefully, we might be done right around the same time the eggs are here. Some people like to bake scrambled eggs. Some people like to cook them kind of really, really low and slow, and not even touch them, and just kind of let them cook through without moving them around. I like to break the eggs up to little pieces and cook it. That way I know it's cooked throughout. It's really cooked. scrambled eggs I don't like runny. I do like my fried eggs runny, so gotta make sure that my scrambled eggs are cooking in there, not runny. Alright, these are done. I'm not sure if you can tell the color difference, but if you look at these eggs, our yolks from free-range chickens are much darker and much richer, much better for you. So I like it. Good. And that's a nice steaming hot plate of scrambled eggs. It's gonna be great. And this hash is coming along. And so because I put the temperature up on this, and we're a bit past medium, we're at medium high now, stuff's starting to stick to the bottom, and that's kind of almost what we're looking for. We want this hash to be really nicely caramelized, well cooked. Want all those flavors to kind of integrate them together and break down. And you know, depending on your taste and how well you like things cooked, whether you want them cooked really well done or not, that's kind of what I'm looking at now. Getting pretty close to where we want it to be. Again, remember what I said earlier, everything in there is cooked. So if you're the kind of person you don't like any caramelization at all, you just want to jump into it really quick as you can, then there's no need to wait. But I like sort of that fried deep caramelization that you get when you let it sit in the pan, and then you start to kind of scrape up that fond that builds up on the bottom of the pan, and you let that incorporate into the meal, adds another layer of flavor, and I just like it. So we're almost finished here. I'm going to get a plate to plate this up. I will put all the ingredients for this on the post, so that if you wanted to make it yourself, you can make it yourself. So again, this is our celery root and potato hash. This celery root is actually grown about 1.5 miles from here at Holcomb Farm, so it's really good local produce, tastes really good, and this is done. So one of the other great things about those cast iron pans is you don't really even have to wash it. You can just rinse some water in that, wipe it out with a paper towel, and it'll be great. And that black that's in there, that seasoning, that's the pan is being seasoned, and it's great to keep it that way. I like fresh herbs, so we can put some more fresh herbs on this. But look at that. This is a finished dish. That potato and celery root hash with sausage, onions and peppers, and a scrambled egg. So that's episode 1 from Cooking in the Bear Cave. There's more coming today, so I'll see you guys later.